Welcome back. We had already seen how to install ClickHouse using various options that are available. In this section, we will see different options to connect to the ClickHouse database. To begin with, ClickHouse has two different interfaces. The first one is the HTTP interface and the second one is the TCP interface. ClickHouse has a simple web UI to query and interact with the data in ClickHouse. It uses HTTP interface and we can access the web UI by typing the database server IP or address followed by the HTTP port, which is 8123 by default, followed by /play. This is the web UI to connect to a ClickHouse server. This UI is shipped along with the ClickHouse server and we do not have to install any new packages to access this. On the top, we have the input fields where we have to provide the username and the password to connect to the ClickHouse server. After we have entered the correct password and the username, we can type the SQL statements in this text box and hit the run button to execute the statements that are typed. The results are displayed below. The next option to connect to a ClickHouse server is by using the ClickHouse client. ClickHouse client is a command line interface to connect to a ClickHouse server. This client uses a TCP interface to connect to the ClickHouse server. We can run the client in interactive mode or in batch mode. To invoke the client in interactive mode, and type ClickHouse-client followed by the necessary parameters. Here, I am specifying the host, which is the localhost, the port, the TCP port number, which is 9000 by default, and the username, and then the password. So we are connected to the ClickHouse server in interactive mode. We can execute multi-line queries in the interactive mode by using the \, where the line breaks occur. Another way is to pass an additional parameter called multi-line while invoking the ClickHouse client. We can hit the enter button to go to a new line and the queries are terminated by a semicolon. To run the ClickHouse client in batch mode, we can pass the query as a parameter while invoking the ClickHouse client. The query will be executed without entering into the interactive mode. So these are some of the important parameters that can be provided while invoking the ClickHouse client. We can specify the hostname of the ClickHouse server, the port number, username and password, the query to be executed in batch mode, the multi-line option, the default database to be chosen, the data format, and we can also specify if you have to make a secure connection via SSL TLS. So this is all about the ClickHouse client and the web UI available in ClickHouse. Thank you and see you again. Welcome back. Apart from ClickHouse client and the web UI, we can also connect to a ClickHouse database using dbeaver. dbeaver, which can be used to connect to multiple different databases, not just ClickHouse. This is purely optional, but I personally prefer to use dbeaver to manage multiple different databases. So let us begin by installing dbeaver. So go to the home page and select download. We can see that there are two different editions available and we will choose the community edition, which is free and open source. For Windows, you can choose this installer package. You have options for Mac, and for Debian and Ubuntu based operating systems, you can choose this one, or you can choose the RPM package if you're using Fedora, Red Hat Linux, or CentOS. For Linux, you can also install dbeaver via Snap or Flatpak. Execute this command to install the downloaded package. Now, dbeaver is successfully installed. To add a new database to manage using dbeaver, go to this database section and choose New Database Connection. And in this window, choose ClickHouse and select Next. In the next screen, enter the database details, the username, password, and select this test connection. This will prompt you to download the drivers required by dbeaver to connect to the ClickHouse database. So select Download. The necessary driver files will be downloaded automatically. So the connection test is a success. So select OK and click Finish. So we have added a ClickHouse database connection to dbeaver. To connect to the server and execute the queries, right-click on this connection and select SQL Editor. And select New SQL Script. Now, in the SQL Editor, we can type in our SQL queries and execute it here. To execute a query, select the statement and hit Ctrl plus Enter. We have the results at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, this button can be selected, which executes the SQL statement. dbeaver can be quite handy when we have multiple databases to manage. dbeaver also has a paid version called dbeaver Pro. dbeaver Pro has extra features such as support for NoSQL databases, cloud data sources, AI assistant for SQL queries, and also comes with technical support. So that's all for now. Thank you and see you again. Welcome back. Now that we have our own ClickHouse database server, let us try to get some sample dataset into the database and play with it. This is an optional exercise and you can skip it if you wish. I'm going to use the dataset from OpenCellID, and the dataset contains the details of cell towers spread across the globe. This example is also available in ClickHouse documentation. Let us begin by downloading the dataset. Open the terminal window and execute this command to download the dataset. This can take a while depending upon the speed of your internet connection. This dataset has around 40 million rows of data. Once the download is completed, extract the downloaded file. After the extraction is over, let us create a new database and a table for storing the data in ClickHouse. So let us connect to the ClickHouse server using ClickHouse client. Let us create a database called sample_dataset. This is the SQL statement to create this database. Let us now create a table called cell_towers with the following structure. Don't worry about the syntax and the table engines for now. We will cover them in later sections of the course. And for now, it is sufficient that you reproduce this example. So this table has 14 columns and we are using merge tree table engine for this table. After the table is created, let us insert the data into the table. We are going to insert the data using ClickHouse client in batch mode. Once the dataset is inserted, let us run some queries on it. We have created a table in ClickHouse and loaded data into it, and we are also able to interact with the data. Thanks for joining and see you again. In this section, we had a gentle introduction to ClickHouse, installed the ClickHouse database, connected to the ClickHouse database using command line and graphical interface, and we were also able to interact with the data that is loaded into the database. ClickHouse has its own feature-rich SQL And to effectively use the ClickHouse, one has to be good at ClickHouse SQL and its features. In the next section of the course, we will cover the ClickHouse dialect of SQL. We will cover the data types and operators in ClickHouse. We will also look at the commonly used SQL statements like data querying language, used to query the data, data definition language, used to create and modify the database objects like tables, users, etc., data manipulation language, used to update and delete the records in ClickHouse, joins and unions on ClickHouse tables, and finally, views and materialized views in ClickHouse. Thank you, and see you in the next section of the course.